Alright everybody, I wanted to make a video because there are so many people asking the same questions, which is understandable because CG went and did something remarkably confusing. We don't know if they're going to change it, but let me explain to you kind of what's happening a little bit, as far as I can surmise, as far as other people can surmise. So, you're probably wondering why IG-90 came out. Yay, we have IG-90, and you're realizing that when you go into Coliseum over here, that you are scoring much lower than with just Luke alone. Okay, so why is that happening? Well, it seems that the bosses, well, not the bosses, the summoned units in the battle are based off whatever character you have that is the lowest era level. So for many of you, the large majority of you that aren't spending, IG-90 is currently the lowest level unit you have by a lot. So if you look at it in my case, let's go back here and go over to the characters. Oh, not those characters, these characters. I have IG-90 at level 5 and Luke at level 27. So what happens is when we go into the battle, I'm currently at tier 3. Instead of getting Luke or Darth Vader and Inquisitor Barriss at level 27, I'm getting Darth Vader and Inquisitor Barriss at level 5. So they immediately get killed. The whole battle's harder, yada, yada, yada. And it works off of total era level. So if we go back over to Coliseum, which is what I was going over there to show you initially, we go and look at the features, go down to the feature info, no, the boss buffs and everything. So we're looking at the Dryax right now. If we go down here, it says at the start of the battle, up to 4 enemies are summoned based on this unit's era level and the lowest enemy's era level in the following descending order. So this would seem to mean that you get certain units based off of the era level of your characters and the enemy. So in this case, this unit, because it's a buff or an ability on the boss, this unit refers to the boss and lowest enemy refers to our characters. Okay. Now it would seem to be like based off of the boss's level and your character's level, that's what you get summoned, right? So for those of you who've gone to tier 2, you notice that Chewie's no longer there, and for those of you in tier 3, you notice that Asajj isn't there any longer. That's what this is in reference to. However, because of what we're seeing in game, people are speculating that there's a weird wording or some words that are left out of this, whatever. Essentially, it's 4 units based off of based off the boss level, the tier level of the era boss, right? And then the unit's era level, the people that are summoned, their unit level is determined off the lowest enemy or lowest character that you have, right? It's confusing. Okay, we should not be expected to have to read this in some weird way to have figured out that they're going to completely screw us over with the Marquees. I'm sorry, that's what's happening. Nonetheless, okay, that's what's happening with this particular situation that we have, where IG-90 is coming in and ruining the run because they're giving you lower level characters. Okay, so we also have the issue of the Roar of the Crowd ability, I believe it is. No, this is the decreases points earned. There's another battle. There was another effect here that reduced damage taken based on the total era level that you were bringing into the battle. So essentially, if you brought in more era level, the battle was easier. If you brought in less era level, the battle was harder. So IG is taking all of the summon units and making the era level lower, therefore making the battle harder to some great degree. So there's a few things that are happening all at once here, okay? That being said, you can solve the issue by just not taking in IG-90. One of the stupid fixes of this is that you just don't play with the new characters, which is entirely the opposite of the point of the whole system. So it's annoying, I agree. Hopefully they change this somehow, because it's completely an opposite to what they're trying to get at. But that's the solution right now. Now, a lot of people are asking the question, is it better to bring in IG-90 and get him up to the same level as Luke, because that would fix your disparity, that would fix your issue. All your units would then be the same level as all your characters. Or just focus on one character, in this situation Luke, because we already got him leveled up, right? Now, this is where it gets a little bit confusing, because both of these strategies can work, but in a vacuum they can work. They don't entirely work in the game the way we have things set up, unless you're spending, or unless you're in some weird situation where you're capped at a certain resource. This is going to make it really difficult to explain what everybody should do and like have a generalized consensus and advice for people. I'm going to give you my advice on what I did in my situation. Your situation might be differently, and you're going to have to try to figure it out based on what you have and based on what we're looking at. Okay. So the situation I was in currently before today, right, was I had a level 25 Luke. Okay. Let's go back over here to the area units. I had a level 25 Luke. Okay. And that means I was up here and I can't look at the scores anymore. I can't look at the requirements anymore. Okay. So essentially I was at level 25. That was good enough to beat tier 2 on its own. Okay. And then tier 3, I would get no percentage. I'd get like 1 or 2%, 3 or 4%, whatever. Actually, I think I didn't get 6%. But the point is, you can't get to 10% with the level 25 Luke unless you're extremely lucky. Mind you, I also have 7 stars as well. That minorly affects it. But the issue that I was having was I had enough currency to take Luke up to 27. Well, I had enough currency and mats to take Luke up to level 27, and then as you can see, I'm gated by this piece right here. Before I did the tier 3 and got to 10%, I was at 0 out of 150. So unless I get that resource, I can't take Luke any higher, even though I have the area level currency. Now, IG, right, because this is where we got all the resources for him, I had enough to take IG up to level 19. Now, because I spent a little on Luke getting him to 27, I no longer have the ability to get him to level 19. Instead, I only get him to level 17. Now, so this is basically the decision I had to make. Take Luke to level 27 and hope that I can get more percentage on tier 3, or take IG up to level 19 and have Luke at level 25. The combination would mean that I go no higher because my units are being summoned at level 19. So then I would have to wait until I had enough currency, essentially, to get IG-90 to level 25 to match where Luke was. Now, if you have both units at level 25, the battle is somewhat easier until you reach those certain thresholds where damage starts getting nullified. I haven't seen anybody able to confirm that with a level 25 IG-90 and a level 25 Luke, that you can get 10% or more on these Dryaxes. Okay, I'm sure it's possible, but I just haven't seen anybody confirm that. But the problem is I can't just simply take IG-90 to level 25 to match up with Luke. If I'm taking IG-90 to level 25, then that means that Luke is not going to level 27. So I'm necessarily lowering my cap, right? Now, it's quite possible, again, that they could do just what they were capable of with Luke at 27. But without IG, Luke at level 27 was able to get me 10%, right? So right now, and as you can see, the resources that I need to take IG-90 to level 25 are not the ones that I need to take him to level 26. Once you get to level 26, you need this piece, right? Now, mind you, I only have this 125 because I took Luke to level 27. If I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have this piece, and I wouldn't be able to take Luke nor IG-90 to level 26 because I still need this piece. So where do I get this piece? I have to buy this piece, or I get this piece from tier 3 10%. So even if I did do that, right, and I was able to get to 10%, then I would have enough to take IG-90 to level 26, and then I'd be stuck behind resources because only one of these, well, I guess I'd have enough for this guy right here to be 26. So now I would have to hope that 26 low IG-90 and 26 Luke could get me to the next level to get more resources in order to take them up to level 27, right? So, and level 27, you just need this piece. So I don't think that those two being at level 26, but I don't know, versus being at level 27 with Luke would get me to 20% rather than 10% on the Dryaxes. Tough to tell. I don't know. But you could see how possibly being in parity with each other, being at the same level, would yield you results. But for now, Luke alone is getting me results, and I can get him to level 28 tomorrow and hopefully push a little bit higher, right? It's just all going to be a matter. If I, again, leveled up IG, I wouldn't have enough currency, or I wouldn't have enough currency to level Luke. So right here, if I want to wait for IG to be able to get to level 25, I'm not capped on mats, but I am capped on currency. And that lies the issue, because my only way to get currency right now is through the episode track or buy it, but I'm not talking about buying. This is all an analysis without buying. So I'm through with the episode track, which means I'm not getting these 4,000 point bumps every 2 days. And instead I'm getting 2,000 point bumps. So now I'm upgrading air level currency at a lower rate. We will get more as time goes on, much more with the next Marquees. But the question is, how do we level up now in the moment to get our score as high as possible? And I think the answer is you got to upgrade Luke as high as you can go and then worry about IG next. But I wouldn't pull the trigger on him because it does nothing for you. Getting my IG to level 17, which I can do now, if we go back again to the air units and look at it, getting him up to level 17 does nothing for me. So hold on to the materials, right? Because unless I get to a point and I get enough materials that IG can equal Luke, there's 0 point in progressing the lower Marquee. I don't think that's what CG wants to happen, but this is the situation that they've made. And we can't see. It's not like we can test a bunch of things and figure anything out, because we only get 5 attempts and we only have so many resources, and we're gated on the air level currency and we're gated on the mats to some degree. Air level currency is the reason why we're holding off, right? Because the mats aren't holding me back. Using these on IG doesn't prevent me from leveling up Luke, because Luke doesn't need those resources. He only needs this one. Likewise, getting IG up to level 25, he doesn't need this resource. It's only after he gets to level 26 he needs this resource. So there's a couple levels when they're very close to each other that who you put the resources on can matter. But absent that, it's mostly air level currency that's blocking you. So that's the situation we're in right now. For other people that, they might have bought the Marquees, I can't tell what position they're in exactly. I have no clue how this matches up, because I only have these few levels to work with. And asking information from people is not super easy, and figuring out what they have of what and what they're going to get from what and what air level pass thing they're doing. It's just entirely confusing, and trying to figure out what anybody else. If there is a situation in which you can't level up your main character, which is Luke, and you can level up IG to be in parity with Luke, then that might get you past whatever whatever threshold that you're trying to get past. There's a chance. I can't say for sure that it would. But I have a feeling getting those resources, like in the 9 days it would take me to get resources for IG-90, or 18 days, I'm not even sure how many ever days of the episode track to get that currency. In the days it would take to get that currency, Luke's going to get more resources. I could have gotten more resources on Luke. So that's the situation I'm in. By leveling up Luke rather than IG-90, I get up faster and I'm able to progress further, and we wait on IG-90. Whereas upgrading IG-90 would have done nothing for me in this situation. Because I wasn't able to get him to level 25. I was only able to get him to level 19. So my solution to you right now is, if you're struggling, do not use IG-90. IG-90 should not be in the battle at all. And you're going to be able to progress at basically the same rate. If you already bought things and you already leveled them up and you already got them at the same level, then you're in a different situation, and using both of them should help you. However, now we get into the other part of why you're failing with IG-90. If you happen to level them up and you're still getting a lower score, this is the issue you're having. I keep talking to people about this and they don't believe me sometimes, these bosses do have mechanics. I know it sounds weird, but you can't use the same strategy. You can't use the auto button. People keep using the auto button and then complaining, and I'm getting a little sick of it because you're using the auto button. Never mind that these characters have strategies. Just using the auto button is going to make your characters use the wrong abilities and do weird stuff, right? So for the Dryaxes, right, when we look at them, let's go over their features here, because I know for some of you, not all of you, but for some of you, this is going to be the first time you've read these characters' abilities. So the Dryax, and remind you, there's two of them, right? The basic deals physical damage to target enemy and dispel all buffs on them, right? So keep in mind, if you're putting buffs that are useful, this is going to dispel them. You can pay attention to the characters' abilities that they have by, when you're in the battle, looking at the top right hand corner, and you'll see the cooldowns of them. This is a basic, it's always available. Now this is the part people are getting caught up on. If Dryax had at least 12% more or less health than another allied Dryax, this attack inflicts speed down for 2 turns. If you have speed down, you are going to do less damage. That's how it goes. Now, some people are reading that and they're just like, full stop. Okay, I need to have them within 12% of each other. No, there's more to it. Now we look at the Predatory Leap. Deal physical damage to all enemies and daze that target enemy for 2 turns. Again, if the Dryax had at least 12% more or less health than another allied Dryax, inflict buff immunity and daze on all enemies for 2 turns. Well, that's going to stop any mass assisting you would do. However, you don't want to mass assist off bat, and why don't you want to do that? Let's keep reading. Their other special, Dominance Display, grant offense up on allies for 2 turns, call another allied Dryax to assist, and inflict defense down on target enemy for 2 turns. Here's that 12% health again. If Dryax had at least 12% more or less health than another allied Dryax, inflict armor shred on all enemies until the end of the encounter, which means you're going to die quicker. Most people don't even get to that point, right? So never mind that all the abilities have this thing where if one is 12% more or less, that they're going to do a bunch of debuffs, right? Their uniques are kind of what matter here. At the start of each enemy's turn, gain 10% turn meter. While Dryax has at least 12% more or less health than another allied Dryax, they have 20% offense. Now, again, people stop reading there and think it's 12% only. However, at the start of the Dryax's turn, for each percentage of health difference than the allied Dryax, gain 1% offense stacking for the rest of the battle. So every turn they go, they are getting a stacking percent offense based on just any percent health difference. This is really why you want to keep them in line with each other. Okay? Now also, for each instance of damage received from attacks, mass assisting does a lot of attacks, Dryax gains 3% defense stacking until the start of its next turn. So if you're attacking the same one over and over and over and over again, whether it's mass assisting or all your characters taking their turns, you're just doing less damage rather than spreading it out by attacking the other one. Okay, so the strategy here is for these cats to attack one with a basic, not an AoE. Well, if you have an AoE, do the AoEs if they're in tandem already, right? But if they're already kind of off from each other, then doing an AoE just keeps that difference the same. So what you want to do is line up your attacks so that you're kind of in line with each other. Okay. If you're starting with AoEs, then you should be pretty good. But in this case, Luke is the fastest. He doesn't have any AoEs and he has 2 call to assists. And if you're not minding those, you're going to be doing a lot of damage to one and not the other and causing hell for yourself. Not only are they getting bonus offense here, but if you break that 12% threshold, then they're doing a bunch of debuffs. Now, some people see this 12% and they're like, there's 2 Dryaxes, therefore 6% is the 12% threshold on the meter up top. That is not the case. These creatures have different, like, I don't know why it is, but there's been situations where there's 2 health bars on one of the enemies and the battle ends because I reached 100%, right? So it's not a 1-to-1 correlation. You can't just look at that. We have no real way to track the health of these 2 creatures other than the little bars on their health bar. That's what you can use to line it up, or if you're keeping track of the attacks and generally the amount of damage. Not expecting anybody to keep track of the exact numbers of damage, but that's how you're going to try to figure it out. Okay, so I have 2 battles. I'm gonna go ahead and use one to kind of show you the strategy that I use to get 10%. there's a lot of variance in here. It may or may not work, right? So if I take this in right now, I will lose the battle. No, I won't get any progress because Asajj and Darth Vader will be level 5 and they'll get wiped out immediately. So we take him out. There you go. And now you're going to do as much damage as you can do, right? So Luke, go in. We target one of the Dryaxes. Luke should go first, right? Now let's read Luke's abilities because we did get some upgrades to his abilities by going to level 25. Okay. He has the rally part, rally all rebel allies. And remember, in Coliseum, everybody counts as a rebel. Everybody counts as all factions, basically. So if I do this, I'm going to call everybody to assist and attackers are going to assist again, right? I'm pretty sure that's how rally works. If not, even just all attackers assisting would mean that Darth Vader is going to assist here, right? His last ability is call everybody to assist, dealing 8% more for each stealth ally. Stealth doesn't really matter here. The point is that is going to put one Dryax way out front of the other. So the best way to kind of make sure that we're doing as little damage as possible to one is just a basic. Now looking at the turn meters, Luke has full turn meter, the Dryaxes have full turn meter. These guys do not have full turn meter, which means I'm going to attack. Based on that difference, they're going to do more damage to all of my guys, right? So the more we mass assist, the more problems we cause for ourselves, essentially. So we'll just basic this one. Okay. Watch the percentage up here, right? So we did like 1,000 damage and that was 1%. 931 is what we did. So we survived that opening salvo, right? Now, if we do AoEs, we're just going to keep that level that damage differential going. So the AoE doesn't exactly help us here, except that Darth Vader might not survive. We're going to try to keep them in tandem. Okay. So Luke did 931. If we basic, this is what happens. We're basicing the other one, not the first one. Okay. Basic does 699. So they're still a little bit off based on Luke doing 931, this one doing 600 and whatever. Okay. So they're a little bit closer though. We're probably not going to get them much closer. So we can go ahead and AoE here to keep them in tandem. Okay. Now Darth Vader dies and there's just not much to be done about that sometimes. Now we look at the turn meters. We have full turn meter here, a little bit over half turn meter here. Our bear should go before those two, right? So we might be able to line up some attacks that way. It doesn't seem like they're far enough apart to be able to get 12% differential just by me attacking. They will get that stacking offense, but not until they go. So with this one, we're going to go ahead and do our call to assist to do damage to one and not the other. All right. And it looks like this one is even a little bit less than this one. So we'll try to line them up. She'll attack for 800 and then we attack back over here, attack this one, and we're up to 8%. We might not survive right now though. Yep. Okay. Yeah. So we didn't survive, but that's generally how you want to do it. Now, what I think I did in my 10% run was I did the double attack on Vader, which got a little bit more damage. And instead of having 300 less damage on the left Dryax, we had 300 more damage on the Dryax essentially. Right. So it's a moving compass, but these do have mechanics. At this point, with such little paltry damage, they don't have a ton of variation in terms of strategy. But when you amplify those things out over a battle where you're doing significant damage, like in tier 2, doing a mass assist, you would get them to like half health, which would then throw things way off. And then the Dryax is getting 30-40% health more, or 40% more offense on top of all the debuffs they're inflicting, right? So you got to read the kit strategies. IG-90, if for those of you who have a high air level IG-90, okay, let's go back over and look at IG-90 here. I think I can see his abilities that's the Marquee. Oh my gosh, I hate the layout. I'm never going to get used to it, I swear. Level up, we go all the way over here, right? Level 25. This one doesn't, oh, there it is. Deal physical damage to all enemies and mark the target enemy for 2 turns. Well, people are going in here and pushing auto, And even if they're not pushing auto, they're going in here and thinking AoE, therefore good, because what I just went over with the Dryaxes. The problem is they're not paying attention to their abilities and they're marking the Dryax. What happens when you mark a creature? You can only attack that one creature. So they're going in here, they're doing the AoE, and then they find out that they're marked, and now Luke, Barriss, and Darth Vader all have to attack the same Dryax, which is drastically separating their health bars, and thus they're getting lesser scores, and they don't realize why they're getting lesser scores, and they're blaming it on things that it's not, because their characters are equal level, right? So there is strategy, people, and as we get more abilities, you're going to have more strategy that you need to pay attention to and take care of. So even boss mechanics aside, you got to pay attention to at least your own character's abilities, and we're going to be getting more of those. So I don't even know what the basic does right now, but it would do damage twice, right? So Chewie does damage 3 times. So that's when we get the next Marquee. When we're managing this Dryax for the entire era, you're going to have to be paying attention to how many times people are doing damage. Chewie does damage 3 times. IG-90 is doing damage twice. Darth Vader does damage once, but on his middle ability, he does it twice. And then once we get Asajj, you're going to have her dealing out extra offense to people, so people are going to be stronger. You can't just expect them to all keep close in line, because they have been up to this point. The characters that do more damage at the end game, right, once you have them in relics and all that, are going to do more damage than the supports and the healers. You got to be ready and account for that when we're doing something like damage differentials, right? Again, this is not going to matter towards the end when it's all like we have enough resources total to take everybody to level 65. It's not going to matter. But for right now, when you're trying to score as high as you can, and you're trying to get resources as early as you can in order to score as high as you can, it does matter, right? And right now, the big thing is era level currency, because again, IG-90 isn't using the same mats to get to level 25 as Luke is trying to get to level 28. Hopefully that explains what's happening here. Again, I don't know why they thought it was a good idea. I mean, I can presume they just wanted to make sure that you're leveling everybody up and not ignoring everybody. But in the way they did it, they incentivize not leveling up every character. And we can't immediately see the results of having both characters. We can hope that other people share their results. But the problem is, in the analyses that I've seen of, say, a level 19 Luke and then upgrading IG-90 to level 19, I don't know what mats they needed, but I took Luke higher, so I'm assuming you can get higher with a level 19 Luke. And therefore, if you would have got higher, then you would have used that resources on Luke to go higher and not spend them on IG, at least in era level currency. So it's hard to tell right now. But I think this disparity will weed itself out a little bit, because there's going to become a point where you can't upgrade Luke any higher without getting more characters, right? Right now, I can eke out a little bit of percentage to level up Luke a little bit higher. And we know that solo Lukes can go pretty high up the leaderboards, depending on how much you're willing to invest, right? But there's going to come a point where even the people with a maxed out Luke, I don't know where they're at right now, but people with a maxed out Luke are hitting a wall. The only solution for them to go higher is to get IG-90 to the same level. Because if they have them at a lower level, then all their summons are lower. But also, at the higher levels, you don't have any characters. So it doesn't even affect the summons, right? It may affect the total... No, it wouldn't even affect the total era level. So, right now, we're only seeing half the picture. But later on, you're going to realize that we have to have the characters, otherwise we don't have any characters. Because I think it's at tier 5 where you just have Luke. So at that point, putting in a level 19 IG is still having a level 19 IG. It might not do a whole lot, but it's a lot better than not having anything. And then, of course, if you have a level 75 Luke and having a level 45 IG, then that's still a level 45 IG, right? So, and then as we get more characters, that's going to change, right? So when Chewie comes out, I believe the level right now that they want free to play to be at with IG coming out is level 25. Not immediately, but at the end of IG's event in the week, right? Hopefully where free to play would cap out is around level 25. With Yoda, it should go up to 35, I think. I might be give or take off 10%. Like, so it might be 15 I don't know exactly where free to play is at, but I've seen a lot of in the teens. So, but either way, we'll go up about 10 levels, I would think, once Yoda and Chewie gets here. And then once Barriss gets here, we go up another 10 levels, and then Ventress another 10 levels, Darth Vader another 10 levels, and so on. So that's what you can kind of expect. Okay, hopefully this answers questions. If it did, go ahead and hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content explaining all of this, and hit the notification bell so you know when I go live. And I'll see you next time. Bye.